Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. And today I would say quite literally welcome back to the channel. For those of you that still do not know, a few days ago my YouTube channel was hacked and terminated. So I'm actually very happy to be back myself. As you can imagine, this was not a pleasant experience, but it was at least a formative one. So in this video I will explain exactly what happened, how hackers were able to abuse a Google security system Flaw to completely lock me out of my Google account, take control of my channel, get it terminated, and of course I will also explain how I eventually managed to get it back. All of these in the hope that this might be helpful for other people in a similar situation. But let's start from the beginning, as almost all hacking cases ultimately involve a mistake made by the victim, and this one, unfortunately, is no exception. I did make a stupid mistake, which led to this situation. So a few days ago I got this partnership proposal from Hoyoverse, mostly about mobile games for short videos. Now, this is quite common, it's also a common scam. Of course, I found out about this type of scam after falling into it, otherwise probably I wouldn't have fallen into it. Yet, it's also common for small channels like mine to mostly get sponsorships or proposals about mobile games, not very famous games. In fact, these ones are a bit too popular for my channel. Maybe I should have been suspicious. That being said, the email is well made, it's all prepared quite well. They actually asked me for something rather than offering something. So I replied and I sent some screenshots about my channel. They replied again, all very polite, very well made. Of course, with the AI getting better and better, it's going to become harder to tell obvious scams from AI generated ones. I assume all of this is AI generated. Either way, they replied again and I sent a couple of documents. Now the first document here is a common non-disclosure agreement, it looks fine, everything is alright in here, so nothing too suspicious. The second one is the one that I should have been suspicious about, because it says it needs DocuSign to be opened. However, DocuSign exists and you actually do use it to check and to sign these documents. It's not super strange. And once you try to open the link, it actually leads to a website, which I found out later is not the official DocuSign website, but it looks pretty well made, right? It's not an obvious scam at this point. I mean, I'm trying to make myself feel better, but if you look at these, it's not the obvious scam type of website that you sometimes get. At least it's fairly well made. And so here, the biggest mistakes. I downloaded this file, which I'm not going to download again in this case. The file was an installer for DocuSign, a fake one of course, and the moment I ran it, nothing happened. At this point I must say I was suspicious. I was also already suspicious about this website, not suspicious enough not to download it, but I was a bit wary. So the moment I downloaded the file and nothing happened, I knew something was wrong. I still replied to them, but I knew at this point this was a scam. I just wanted to see what happened, if they would reply again or not. Of course they didn't. I was dumb to download that file, but not that dumb. So while I was replying, I immediately ran a Malwarebytes scan, which, as you can see, was not good. There is a lot of bad stuff in there. Now, some of that bad stuff I only found out later. But basically what the first one does, Backdoor Quasar, is it gives remote access to your computer. And what the other ones do, this wallet stealer, well, they steal immediately your session token and any cryptocurrency wallets you may have open and send the data immediately. So this was done immediately after downloading the file. I immediately removed all of these malwares. I immediately disconnected my computer from the internet, which are good steps. What I did not do right away, but I honestly didn't have much time to do it, was immediately log out all sessions on all of my devices and change the passwords. Now at this point I was fairly worried, but not super worried. I was a bit cocky, I must admit, and one of the reasons I was feeling fairly safe is that I actually had every single security system on my Google account. So I had the two-step verification, which is now mandatory for creators. I had the security keys, I had of course the password, I had the authenticator, the Google prompt on my phone, the recovery phone, recovering email, two-step verification phones, every single security system except for one, which is the key, but we'll get there. So first let me briefly explain what happens when hackers steal your session token. Though I'm not an expert, I haven't fully understood it yet myself. But basically what they can do is they can appear as you are at that moment. So for Google, the hackers with your session token look exactly like you. That's an authorized, secure session in which they can do exactly what you can do at that moment, including accessing the Google security systems, the ones I'm showing here, and changing them. However, when you try to change these security systems, if you try to remove all of them, well, Google will ask you to authenticate again. So even though the hackers with the session token have access to your password, they don't have access to your phone, Google Prompt, Authenticator, all of that stuff was safely in my control. And that made me feel a bit safer than I should have actually been. Because what the hackers did was, first of all, before changing any of these, they added the only security system I didn't have. A physical USB passkey. Just like this one, which I eventually got myself. And that's considered the highest possible security by Google, so once you add that one, you can use that one to remove everything else without having to authenticate with any of the other systems. So first of all, I got a notification on my recovery email saying that a USB passkey was added to my account, and then in a matter of 1 minute, I got emails about all of the other security systems being removed. At that point, I was inevitably, completely, fully locked out of my Google account. Now, I have to be honest here, it's completely crazy to me that Google allows something like that. Now, what's the point of having all of these security systems activated if the hackers can simply add a USB key without having to authenticate again and then use that to remove everything else? Okay, the stolen session token was my fault because I downloaded malware, but these security systems are supposed to be there to save you from mistakes like that. So the obvious solution is that Google should ask for additional security and verification not only when you remove the security systems, but also when you add them. If the hackers had to authenticate through my phone or authenticator when they tried to add the USB passkey, well, then they wouldn't have been able to do that. They would have stolen all of my passwords and accessed my account, but they wouldn't have been able to lock me out. Obviously, nobody from Google is ever going to watch this video, but hopefully in future they will think about this because it's stupid that hackers can just do that. Of course, now I learned my lesson and I added the security key myself. So this hopefully will not happen again in future. Now what is very scary about all of these is that the hackers at that point had full control of my Google account, which includes my Gmail account, so all of the emails that I was sending, my Google Drive, everything connected to Google. And I don't know about you, but most of my stuff is connected to Google. My Canva account that I used to make these thumbnails, well, that's on Google, so I didn't have access to my thumbnails anymore and they did. Most of the logins to all of my stuff, including all of my banks and financial accounts and so on, it's all connected somehow to Google or saved in the Google Password Manager, which they had access to. Yet, and at this point I would also say luckily, this was a highly targeted scam aimed at my YouTube channel. So the hackers only really wanted to take control of the YouTube channel to stream some scam about bitcoins and bait people into scanning the QR codes and losing money or something, I don't know. I honestly don't think they made much money out of these because all of the views were bots and my viewers immediately reported the scams, but we will get there. In any case, luckily they didn't try to access any of my other accounts, but of course I had to go through the trouble of changing all of my passwords, locking all of the accounts, calling the banks, very annoying stuff. So what happened instead is that the hackers immediately took control of my YouTube channel and shortly after started streaming this scam. First the fake press conference about space and then this one here, and of course Trump had to be in there somehow. I must say this was all AI generated, but the Trump live was pretty convincing, very well made. Jokes aside, luckily the community reacted very fast, so immediately on Reddit somebody noticed and reported it, and I was able to get in touch with my community through the other socials I still had under my control. Now actually, luckily, all of my YouTube related stuff is on a different account, but the YouTube channel is on my personal account, so by hacking my personal account I got access to YouTube, but not to all the other socials. That was very lucky, it would have been a disaster. This also allowed me to immediately get in touch with the community, as you can see, ask everyone to report the scam immediately and report the channel as hacked. This actually worked very well. Both scam streamings were taken down in a matter of minutes, and shortly after, the whole account was taken down. Now, while this did not feel very good to see, I was pretty happy about it because it meant the hackers could not do any more damage, which is what I was most worried about. I heard about other channels in which they would just delete everything, remove all videos and so on, change the branding. It looks like we caught them fast enough to just take down the channel, freeze it, and prevent them from causing additional damage. So at this point, with the channel down, my highest priority was to get back into my Google account as the hackers still had full control of it, and that was quite stressful. And here I found something quite disconcerting about Google accounts. So first of all, it's completely impossible to get in touch with an actual human being. When you go to the assistance page, the only option if you need more help is to post to the help community. There is no emergency call center, there is no live chat with assistants. The only way is to post to the community. And when you do post to the community, this is the only answer you will get. For a hacked Google account, there is only 2 links, which is the automatic recovery system. As they say here, it is entirely automatic, managed by AI computers, and the owner is the only one who can attempt recovery, so no human being will look at your case. And what if it doesn't work? Well, if it doesn't work, the official advice is if you still cannot recover your account, you can create a new one. What's the problem if your main Google account with all of your sensitive information, all of your work emails, all of your Google Drive folders is hacked and lost? Just make a new account. So of course at this point I tried to use their automatic recovery system, and what happened was this. So first of all, the system could not authenticate my device, despite it being the usual device that I always use from my home, the usual IP. So I followed all of the suggestions, all of the recommendations. I tried from my phone, from my laptop, from my computer, nothing. The system would never recognize me as a trustworthy enough device. What it kept doing was asking me my password, which of course the hackers had changed. And after asking for the password, I would send a verification code to the same email I was trying to access, which is genius, like it's fantastic. Now, that's the other problem. After trying a few times, the whole system gets locked, and Google tells you to try again in 24 hours, and if it doesn't work, to try again in 1 week. And before that, nothing. They also add that the fact that if it didn't work the first time, it's unlikely to work the second time or additional time, so just make a new account. So as a common user, at this point, my Google account would have been lost. The only thing that saved me, although that's also the reason I was targeted, is that I have a YouTube account. Now the YouTube account changes everything, because being a monetized account, Google has an obligation to pay out the rightful owner of the account, and for that they need to verify who the owner is. So for this reason, and because I was a creator, I had access to this hacked channel assistant, which again is AI, it's not a human being, but at least it allowed me to open a ticket using my recovery email. In addition to this, people also recommended getting in touch with Team YouTube on X, which I did right away. I made a post, I made an X account because I didn't have one, then I made a post on their account, and they actually did reply, although they were not super helpful, but probably that's because I was able to create a case with the Google AI assistant, otherwise they probably would have done it for me. After that, well, they just say if you can get in touch with support, just keep replying to them. And although the hackers were streaming scam stuff on my account, well, they didn't seem to care too much about that or to want to escalate that. In all of these, I must admit, probably there are thousands, millions of people being hacked every day. YouTube channels, small YouTube channels. And unless it's a very big channel that attracts a lot of attention, they probably have higher priorities, and these people probably cannot do much about it. At least they try, because when I wrote to Google as well, all they did was the standard template and the usual amazing suggestion, why don't you consider creating a new Google account? Yeah, what's the problem with that, right? Either way, between the assistant here and Team YouTube on X, I was able to eventually get my YouTube support request, and they replied to me. This happened about 6.5 hours after my initial report. So the account had been hacked. At this point it had already been terminated for about 6-7 hours. And here again, I'm not entirely sure about these replies. They look very much AI made. It's probably a mix of a standard template they need to use. I think there are probably some people there, but it looks very AI made. And this was probably the most frustrating part of the process because I expected it to be faster. As you can see, this was 4 days ago. And they say they started an investigation. Now, the frustrating part in here is that things are quite obvious. The channel obviously got hacked. They started scam streams about bitcoins. I'm obviously the rightful owner, and I had all of the evidence proving that, control of all the other social accounts. Well, I mean, if anything, my face is in the video, so I'm obviously the rightful owner. But more practically, I have in my bank accounts the receipts for my Google AdSense, so that's something you cannot fake. And so the moment one person, one actual human being looks at this, looks at the YouTube account, looks at me, they immediately know this was hacked. Yet, I'm sure because there is a very long queue, this investigation probably didn't start right away, although they said we are investigating it very carefully. And they kept saying that for 4 consecutive days. Every day I would send them a reminder. I would say, well, can we do something about it? Can I send you some evidence? And most of the time they just replied with something like this. At least this one message led me to believe that maybe this was not AI, because they said we'd like to let you share that we are actively looking into it. Doesn't make any sense, so I don't think the AI would make such a mistake, unless there is something I'm missing in there. So maybe there are human beings looking at that, probably pressing keys with automated or mostly automated answers, and they pressed the wrong one or something like that. In any case, after 4 full days of investigation, they could finally confirm that my account was indeed hacked. After that, the process was a bit faster. They sent a password reset link to my official work email to reset and recover my personal email. With that, I was finally able to reset my password, get back into my Google account, get back into my YouTube account, which of course was terminated. So when I went to my channel, this is what I saw. Of course, I had 4 days to prepare for this, so I knew this would be coming. And this last part of the process was luckily quite fast. I started the investigation, answered a few questions, offered a brief description of what happened, and they said they would reply within 72 hours. This was actually much faster. In about 1 hour, the account and the channel was restored, and I was able to log back in. And so here we are, back with my account. Yeah, there is still some damage that I need to check because all of the playlists apparently were deleted, and I had a lot of them. And then there is an issue with memberships because they all appear to be cancelled, and that's a massive disaster for me. But members wrote me saying that their membership is just frozen, so maybe it will take a few days, maybe you need to reapply. So if you were a member of the channel and you wish to keep supporting the channel, now more than ever, maybe check and if you need to reapply or to renew your membership. I would be extremely grateful. And that's all for this video. Hopefully the next ones will be fun and they will be about Hearts of Iron 4, which is what I love, what you love, and what we all want to do. One last thing though, I would like to thank you all so much for supporting me, sending very nice messages, reporting the channel very quickly. We managed to take it down in a few minutes, which is probably why they couldn't do more damage to it. And I am particularly grateful to all of the people who went to my Patreon and decided to donate there. That was incredibly helpful. Thanks to people like you, nothing will ever break my motivation to keep making new and better content. So guys, thank you all for watching, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye bye!